It all started in the middle of the school hallway, just after the final bell rang. The crowd of students rushed out of their classrooms, laughing, joking, and shoving books into their backpacks. But among all that noise, one scene stood out. A boy named Ian was cornered by 3 older students. They weren't just teasing him or calling him names, this time they went further. One of the bullies grabbed Ian by the collar, shoved him against the locker, and before he could react, another arm wrapped around his neck. The laughter of the crowd turned into nervous whispers. Ian's face turned red, then pale. He clawed at the arm around his throat, desperate for air, but the bullies didn't stop until his body went limp. He collapsed to the floor, unconscious, as students gasped in shock. By the time Ian woke up, the bullies were gone, leaving him humiliated in front of the entire school. No teacher came to his defense. Nobody stepped forward to help. He lay there, dizzy and broken, hearing only the murmurs, "Did you see that?" They choked him until he passed out. For Ian, it wasn't just physical pain, it was the crushing weight of shame. That night, he couldn't sleep. The memory of their laughter haunted him, and the image of himself collapsing replayed over and over. He clenched his fists and made a promise to himself: tomorrow, things would change. The next day, Ian didn't walk into school as the same boy. He had spent the night gathering every ounce of courage, every drop of determination. He remembered the years of mockery he had endured, being called weak, nerdy, useless. He remembered how he always stayed quiet, always avoided conflict, hoping one day they would stop. But now, something inside him had snapped. He realized that silence only gave the bullies more power. If he didn't fight back, they would keep breaking him down until there was nothing left. When the bullies approached him again, smirking, expecting an easy victim, Ian stood tall. His voice was steady when he said, "Not today." At first, they laughed. They thought it was another chance to toy with him, another chance to prove their dominance. But this time, Ian didn't back down. When the first bully shoved him, Ian pushed back harder. When another tried to grab him, Ian twisted free and delivered a punch so sharp that it stunned everyone watching. The hallway filled with gasps as Ian fought back with a fire nobody had ever seen in him before. He didn't just defend himself, he unleashed the strength that had been buried under years of silence. The fight wasn't easy. He still took hits. He still felt fear in the pit of his stomach. But every time he stumbled, he remembered the humiliation of lying unconscious on the floor the day before. That memory gave him fuel, gave him strength. By the end of it, the bullies weren't laughing anymore. Bruised and embarrassed, they scattered, shocked that the boy they once called weak had stood up to them, and won. The school was silent. For the first time, students who had once ignored his suffering looked at Ian with respect. Teachers finally noticed what was happening and were forced to take action, calling the bullies into the office. But the real victory wasn't in the punishment they received. It was in the fact that Ian had broken free from the chains of fear. He had shown everyone, and himself, that he was stronger than they ever believed. Later that evening, sitting in his room with an ice pack on his cheek, Ian realized something important. Revenge wasn't just about hurting those who hurt him. It was about reclaiming his dignity, his pride, and his self-worth. His brutal revenge wasn't in the bruises he left on his bullies, it was in proving that he could no longer be broken. The story of that fight spread quickly through the school, and soon, Ian was no longer seen as the quiet, timid boy. He was the one who stood up, the one who refused to let bullies define him. Others who had been victims of bullying began to find their voices too, inspired by his courage. And that's the message Ian carried with him: you don't have to stay silent. You don't have to accept being broken down. Sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't just physical, it's showing the world that you're unshakable, that your spirit can't be crushed. So, the next time someone tries to choke the life out of your dreams, your confidence, or your hope, remember Ian's story. Remember that your greatest weapon is your refusal to stay down. Because when you rise, you don't just rise for yourself, you rise for everyone who's been too afraid to fight back.